Richician!
Hey YouTube, Dark Richician 84 here, and welcome to the 20th and final part of my history series. So, although there's not much history behind this one, I'm going to be talking about 2023 so far, from the start of the year all the way up to this point. So yeah, the tournament challenge continues, but unfortunately in the first tournament of the year, this was the worst one I played in for the first time in a while, as I lost all my games and every one of my opponents banished my Dark Magician, which was annoying. Noah and Giorgio banished it with a Bestial, much to my annoyance. When I faced Branded and Scareclaw, respectively. And then Damien banished it twice, once with one of his goatees, and then in game 3 with DD Crow, one of my most hated main deck monsters. I did stall and troll him in like one of the games though. He got out that Synchro monster which gains attack points for each banished fish or something like that, and he tried to attack me directly, but I used infinite impermanence to make it 0 twice. So I got revenge on him in game 2 for the first banishment he did, and then, like I said, in game 3 he banished Dark Magician with DD Crow. And then, of course, Giorgio did me in with both Scareclaws and, again, banishing Dark Magician with a Bestial. I hadn't gone up against Scareclaws, and it seems to be an annoying OTK archetype, which uses cards to put my monsters in defense and just stop me really doing anything. Yeah, that deck is annoying, bullshit, and completely unfair. Now, there was a 4th round which I would have played in, and I was due to face Riley, who was playing Dark World, but I just decided to give him the win, because I was just so annoyed and down in the dumps that I just didn't want to continue. Plus, I really didn't want to face Danger Dark World, and I didn't get pitted against Weber's 5, so after that I just gave up playing in tournaments yet again. Yeah, the Bestials really pissed me off, and so did Goatee and Scareclaw. So me and Weber's 5 arranged to have a match over Messenger. It was supposed to be on Dueling Book, but for some reason it wasn't working properly, at least not for me. It just crashed on my end. So I didn't understand what was going on. So we did it over Messenger. Now, there was a different variant that I was going to use against him, a variant which played no spells. So I ended up using my pure build. Yeah, he beat me in game 1, because I pretty much couldn't do anything. But luckily I did have a side deck on hand. Didn't seem to need it in game 2 though, because somehow he bricked. Although he did slow me down with Jalgan the Spiritualist, but I was able to get rid of it. And I think he ended up scooping. Yeah, he also had Necro Valley on the field, but it kind of messed up a comeback play he could have done, and yeah, that did him in. And then in game 3, Nibiru and Solemn Strike saved me. Yeah, he was trying to build up his field, and luckily for me, Jackal King wasn't in play, so I took the opportunity to drop Nibiru on him. So I did. And then I was able to swarm the field myself. Let's see, I think I had Dragon Knight, Albion Keeper, and Nibiru itself, of course. So I managed to get rid of the token and drop into low life points. And then I stopped a Magician's Soul play. I didn't stop the effect to have it summon itself, because I wasn't sure if I should have done. I did negate the effect to draw 2 cards, though. I feel like maybe I should have stopped the first effect as well, but obviously it didn't matter, because stopping him drawing those 2 cards really helped me out, and all he could do was set a monster and end. And then I attacked for game. So yes, at long last, Dark Magician finally triumphed over Endymion after so long. So yeah, a goal was complete, and so was vengeance. So yeah, that made up a lot for the way that tournament went. And yeah, I decided to never play in a tournament again, and I never wanted to face Endymion again, even though rather annoyingly it was brought against me twice after that, once in the Winner Box tournament and again in a Royal Rumble back in May, but I'll get to that shortly. Now, despite vowing to never play in tournaments again, I then changed my mind and decided to make yet another temporary comeback, but have one purpose in mind, to defeat Jude, Noah, Giorgio and Billsy, and get revenge for each of them banishing my Dark Magician with Bestials and Chengying. I would have said Damien as well, but there was a Raw Rumble where me, him, Ethan and Cal faced off against each other. I don't remember what Cal was playing, but I know... actually, what was Damien playing? I don't think it was his goatees. I know Ethan was playing Starry Nights, which would be quite an interesting matchup, especially when it came to a Starry Night Dragon, which I know my Dark monsters can't do anything against. But it was fine though, because because in this Royal Rumble, I managed to get revenge on Damien and take him out. So yeah, my first revenge target was eliminated, and then I went on to win against the other 2. But then again, I feel like I had it easy for myself because I made Dark Magician the Dragon Knight straight away, and they couldn't get rid of my Eternal Soul. Then I made that tournament return, but I decided that I wasn't going to use Dark Magician, purely because Bestials were a big threat. In fact, I decided not to use any other light and dark decks as well, as, yeah, Bestials hurt them a lot. The other reason was I didn't want to risk my favourite card getting banished, and I didn't want to make my revenge list longer than it was already. So the decks I did choose were Elemental Heroes, Speedroids, Cybursts, Gaia Knights, and Gadgets. Yeah, those were the 5 decks I'd roll with. In fact, they were the only ones I had that I knew would not be hurt by Bestials. Mind you, by that point they were only seeing play in Branded. There was another Banish archetype that was seeing competitive play, and that of course is Kashtira, which of course would go on to become another deck that I hate with a fucking passion. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I had cards in my side decks to specifically counter anything that those 4 duelists would play. So Speedroids were up first, and I got Giorgio in round 1. I was like, yes! But he was playing Kashtiras, and this was the first time I ever played Speedroids in a tournament, but I'd go on to just completely scrub out. Yeah, and this was my first experience with Kashtira. I heard that it was a zone-locking deck, but I wasn't prepared for all these banish cards, especially the ones that banished my stuff face down. It was so annoying. So game 2 I did a bit better. I was able to deal with his monsters a bit more easily, especially when he ran into Mirror Force, which he didn't expect, and I was able to fight back, and I did drop him to about 3,000 life points. He had a Mecha Phantom Beast token, and I would have had game if it wasn't for fucking Forbidden Lance and Change of Hearts. And Change of Heart, of course, had been banned on the May list, unbanned on the May list last year, which I wasn't happy about. Like, I was thinking, why on earth would they unban Change of Hearts? Did they learn nothing from when they unbanned Snatch Steel? Yeah, and that's another card that I'm really hoping Konami will re-ban, since it's one of the most degenerate spells in the game. So anyway, I attacked the token, thinking I had game. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, it was with High Speedroid Kandama, which I powered up with Car Turbo, and he used Forbidden Lance, and it lost its power up. So he was dropped to 800, and he ended. Meanwhile, I was on 2200, and he topped that Change of Hearts. Jamming Sword. I was like, nope, I'm scooping, I'm not giving you the satisfaction. Then I lost against Hisham, who was playing ninjas, and I mean, I didn't think I'd struggle so much, but I struggled more than I thought. In fact, by that point, they had new support, And yeah, literally all my plays were being countered, and I just pretty much couldn't do anything, so I got 2-0'd. Then I went up against Sean, yeah, a different Sean. And he was also playing Cash too. I was like, oh great, not this deck again. But I had more luck against him. I did manage to take it to a third game, but because he bricked in game 2, and then I lost game 3, and then I lost my last round, which was against Damien, playing another deck I hate, Tri-Brigade. And I was doing well to start off with. Like, I had Crystal Wing out, which he was stuck behind, but he was able to get rid of it. And even though I top-decked Monster Reborn and brought it back, he then managed to bring out Omen on my turn, I think through Tri-Brigade Revolt. And he chain blocked me as well, when chain link 1 Omen to banish chain 2 another Tri-Brigade, which rather annoyingly meant I couldn't negate Omen with Crystal Wing. Yeah, I got robbed of victory there. And then I lost game 2. Stupid Tri-Brigades. So yeah, very disappointing starts. Like, I thought Speedroids would do a lot better than this, considering it's one of my best decks. After this, I decided to start attending tournaments at Tabletop Republic, and the first one I played in was an Edison format tournament. So yeah, this was the very first pass format tournament I ever played in, and I took Rainbow Neos to the event. So yeah, I thought I'd include this in my conquest. Unfortunately, I didn't start very well. I went up against James, who was playing Golem Seal, and I thought I could beat this deck, because I did manage to beat it in casual games with my Rainbow Neos deck, but somehow I couldn't beat it in a tournament match. I couldn't believe that. And yeah, I still want revenge against that deck. Like, I'm not having that. I should have won that. So hopefully something can be arranged. Then I had a bye win. Then I went up against Billsy playing Dandy Warrior. I was like, yes, one of my revenge targets. He did win game 1 because he just had better cards on hand. I was able to win game 2 with double Rainbow Neos, therefore getting my revenge. Sure, it was just one duel, but literally that was all I needed. As long as I could win at least one duel against all my revenge targets, that was all I cared about. But then he did win game 3 though, but at least I crossed off another target off the list. Then I went up against Bernardo playing Frog Monarch, a long time hated deck. I did get stalled by 3 Battle Vaders throughout this match, which was weird. But I was just about able to win the match, so at least I was able to beat a deck that I don't like playing against. Then a week later, I attended a normal tournament and took my Cyburst deck, and I was looking to do better than I did the previous time I played Cybers in a tournament, and I kind of did. I was off to a really good start. I won against Jack, who was playing Time Thief Suship. Yeah, that was the most enjoyable matchup. Of the night, to be honest. And then after that, just everything went downhill. Yeah, I lost against Trap Tricks, played by Bernardo. In fact, yeah, by that point, Trap Tricks had a structure deck which just came out of nowhere and made it meta. In fact, something that could beat Kashtira. I was not happy about this because, as you know, I absolutely hate Trap Tricks because it's a deck that just doesn't let anyone do anything. Yeah, it just uses their trap hole traps to cause so many disruptions, along with Rafflesia being able to activate them from the deck, that it just doesn't let anyone play. Yeah, they're just annoying to play against. I mean, there's just no point playing against them if they do too many things that don't let anyone play. Yet people keep trying to play them against me, even though I've said no. But since this was a tournament setting, I had no choice. I was prepared for it, though. I had Raw Decree in the side deck, but it didn't really do anything, especially since it got attached by Time Thief Redoer. And Bernardo couldn't believe he did that and thought it was dirty, but it was like, I'm being dirty? Yeah, says the one playing Trap Tricks. Yeah, I just scrubbed out in that one and lost that one. Then I went up against Mathmex, and although I was able to do some things, I got 2-0'd by an access code talker that could attack twice, thanks to Update Jammer. Then I went up against another guy playing Trap Tricks, and I was thinking, for fuck's sake, not this again. Why is everyone playing Trap Tricks? This proved to be a struggle as well. And I lost game 1, but I was able to do more things in game 2. I managed to play through everything, and Nibiru did help. It did get negated by a Gravedigger trap hole at one point, but I was able to successfully activate it again. Or was this in game 1? I can't remember actually. But I did manage to win that duel, but by that point time had run out, and the match was a draw. And then I lost horribly against Gravekeepers. Yeah, I didn't think I'd be facing that deck. But yeah, Necro Valley just didn't let me do anything. And even when I tried to clear his board with backrow removal, or get rid of his monsters with storming and drowning, it got negated by things like Solemn Judgment and Imperial Tomb, which was just infuriating. And then at one point, I can't remember which game it was, but he used Raw Tribute on me, and my hand was nothing but monsters, so I lost all of those. And then there was a point where Necro Valley and Hidden Temples were on the field, plus Supernaturalist. So I couldn't special summon, and I had no way to get rid of Necro Valley. Yeah, I lost that. That was so annoying. Of course, I should in other past format tournaments that will come up, should that matchup happen again, I want to be ready. I want to side in a load of cards to specifically counter grave keepers and get payback and make sure it doesn't win. Curse Seal is obviously a good idea, because like if that negates Necro Valley, then the deck's dead. But we'll see if I can pull that off in the future. But yeah, kind of a disappointing tournament. Because I lost against two decks that I really hate playing against, and I didn't get paired against either Noah, Giorgio or Jude. Anyway, a couple of days later there was another tournament at Dead Uni, and this time I played Gaia Knights, and I think I did equally as well. I lost against Branded, although it wasn't Noah playing it, it was a newcomer, Star. And even though I was able to do stuff, she just played better and won against me. Then I played against Rory, who was using Crystal Beasts, but I managed to beat him with not too many problems. Who else did I play against that day? I'm trying to remember. Oh, that was weird. Something just showed up on the camera which looked like a bit of fluff. Like it was just right here. Spooky. It might help if I spelt the port correctly. I want to scroll down to March. Oh yeah, it was Aaron with Sprite. And I think this was the first time I went up against Sprite. And boy, this was quite a tough challenge. But yeah, I managed to win against him 2-1. That was a great feeling, defeating a meta deck with Gaia Knights. Unfortunately, I then went up against Flunderies in the last round, used by Hazel. Yeah, that was unfortunate. I really didn't want to go up against Flunderies. I was hoping to avoid them, but no such luck. And yeah, it was an absolute struggle. I did get rid of an M-Pen though, by bringing out Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons, in defense mode, and I used its effect to destroy it. Because while M-Pen does stop the effects of special summon monsters using their effects while in attack mode, they don't do any. It doesn't do anything to monsters in defense mode. So I got crafty. But I still ended up losing that game, which was annoying. And I sided. And this was when I got to try out Cyberjar, which I had planned to save specifically for Giorgio, but I wanted to try it out against Flunderies, and I got to use it. The problem was it didn't really pay off. He did special summon one Flunderies monster, and luckily it wouldn't get an effect, because they can't do anything if they're special summoned. I don't remember if I saw any other sided cards, but I feel like Cyberjar did backfire. Like, it seemed to help him out more than it helped me, and I got done in by Rise of the fucking Mega Monarch. So yeah, that was that. I heard horror stories about Flunderies. I knew it would be a problem, and my fears were justified. And yeah, it's got to a point where I now fucking hate Flunderies, and it's among my top 10 hated decks in the game. Like, I never want to deal with that fucking deck again. After that was another Tabletop Republic tournament, and this time Elemental Heroes were up. It was annoying because I still wasn't getting the matchups I wanted. So annoying. Although, during that same tournament, Star did defeat Noah in a branded mirror match. While Noah was borrowing one of my Dark Richicians, and as a result, this led to Star winning the whole thing, which kind of denied Noah a win. So I like to think of that as karma. For banishing my Dark Magician with a Bestial. I did have a goat game against him, like, some time afterwards, and won against him rather typically, but I didn't even need to do that. Either way, it meant there were just 2 targets left, Jude and Giorgio. But rather annoyingly, I still wasn't getting paired against them in tournaments. But anyway, my Elemental Heroes were up, and I wasn't off to a good start. I lost 2-0 against a younger player playing Cyber Dragons, because fucking Ash and Infinity just stopped me from doing anything, which was really fucking annoying, not gonna lie. We did have a casual duel afterwards with the same decks where I was able to actually win against him, thankfully, and get revenge, because I will not stand for losing against Cyber Dragons. I refuse to be beaten by them, especially when Infinity's on the board. Sorry, just seeing how much time's left. And then I went up against Joe, one of their best players, who was playing Labyrinth, and this was my first encounter with Labyrinth. And yeah, it was a struggle. I mean, the gimmicks seemed to be popping cards with their traps and monsters. And he did ruin one of my comeback plays, though, with Shining Neos Wingman. And time was running out, and I was trying to go for the draw, as I was on very low life points. I did a load of damage with Shining Neos Wingman, and then tried to attack directly with Escarida and get my life points higher, but then he played some trap which brought out a monster in defense, and I couldn't get my life points higher. I was so annoyed. That fucking end of match procedure did me in again. But things picked up afterwards, though. I did win my other 2 matches, one of which was against Ancient Gears, with some random cards. Wasn't looking forward to this match. I was even like, why is everyone playing machine decks that I don't like playing against? He did. My opponent didn't do a whole lot though. And any plays he did do, I was able to turn things around, and I managed to win the match. And then I went up against Billsy in the last round, playing Infernities. He seemed to have some really, really bad luck. He wasn't able to get off any plays in either game, and I won very quickly. So yeah, that's the third time that happened, like one of my signature hero decks beating his Infernities 2-0. Like first it was Rainbow Neos back in 2010, then Legendary Hero in 2011, and now Elemental Heroes did it. Interesting how that works out. And after that, I played my Yugi Gadget deck in a tournament, but I still wasn't getting the matchups I wanted. Although during that same tournament, Jude did play Pearlies, and somehow lost his first 2 rounds and got the bye. So I guess he was having the same bad luck that I'd be having throughout my tournament time, so I kind of like to think of that as karma. Although, that being said, when the Legendary Collection 25th Anniversary box came out, he did kindly give me a quarter-century secret rare Dark Magician as a wedding present, which was nice of him. So, yeah, all was forgiven. Although some point before this tournament, there was this cross-ban list Royal Rumble, which me, Giorgio, Cal, and Weber's 5 played in. He was playing an Edison format Fish OTK deck. I was playing September 2011 Dark Magician, while Cal borrowed my March 2011 Legendary Hero deck. But Weber's 5 played current format Runic Plunder Patrol. That was really frustrating. Yeah, it was just so annoying as our stuff was getting banished and countered and no one could do anything. Poor Giorgio just had all his plays countered and he didn't even get to play. Now, even though I did want vengeance on him, I did genuinely feel bad that he wasn't able to do anything. That being said, at one point where he was on low life points, I did take an opportunity to wipe out his life points myself and finally get my revenge on him. Although, to be fair, he did ask to get taken out and be put out of his misery, and I was happy to oblige. So that was that, and then Cal decked out, and then I just ended up scooping because I didn't want to give him the satisfaction. And then after that, I called for Plunder Patrols to be banned from Royals and Runics. Yeah, Runics proved to be another competitive deck which really only exists just to piss everyone off. Not to mention that every time, except the first time that Plunder Patrols were used in a Royal Rumble, it would always fucking win. As like I said, it's just disruptive as fuck. In fact, it's so disruptive that no one's able to play. And it's also a deck that only exists just to piss everyone off. Anyway, back to the gadget tournament though. I did start really well, which was good considering that Yugi gadgets are one of my best decks. I went up against Sean, playing sprites this time, and I was doing really well against him. I managed to win game one. I did take it to a third game. I don't remember who won what game, but I remember Gigantic Sprite causing me a problem. It stopped me from summoning Nibiru, because one of its effects is that during the turn it succeeds summoned, both players are restricted to only summoning level 2, rank 2 or link 2 monsters, which meant I couldn't drop Nibiru. I didn't get games though, thankfully, but yeah, Gigantic Sprite would prove to be an absolute nuisance all the same. I actually managed to win on end of match procedure. I mean, I was thinking about throwing the match because I overheard Jude lost his first round, and I was quite tempted to throw it just so I could have a chance of getting paired against him. But I guess I just didn't. So I was perfectly fine with winning against one of the competitive players. Then I went up against Riley for the first time ever, playing Scareclaw, which was kind of annoying, considering I really don't like playing against that deck. But I did fine against him though, considering Nibiru was a big help, and so were my Mirror Force battle traps, that's for sure. And I managed to win against him. But I don't get it though. I don't understand why I could beat Scareclaw with Yugi gadgets, but couldn't win against it with both Dark Richician and Rainbow Neos. So annoying. Then I went up against Kevin, who, to my horror, was playing Cosmo. I was like, oh no, not this deck. I did slow him down in game one with Imperial Iron War, which I was main decking just for the tournament. I was running it to specifically counter Kashtira and Runic and make them auto-lose. Didn't get either matchup though. But then he won game 2, and game 3 I just didn't draw very well, and he won that. So yeah, I lost my momentum. And then I lost against Billsy playing Ishizu Tears, and I could have potentially won game 2 because I sided Majesty's Fiend against him, which I did get out on the field, but he got so lucky against me. He managed to fusion summon one of his tier elements monster with polymerization and just get rid of Majesty's Fiend. And then after that I couldn't make a comeback, and that was the end of that. Then we had the Winner Box tournament coming up at Tabletop Republic. Now, the plan was for me to use Jinzo originally, because throughout the first few months of this year, Jude was playing Trap Tricks, and I figured Jinzo would be a great way to specifically counter that deck. I I did still want to try my luck against Jude all the same. Of course, I wasn't even sure if he'd be playing trap tricks or pearlies, and and I and I found that Jinzo is actually a good deck to use. Because obviously, provided I can get Jinzo out very quickly, they basically can't do shit. Well, except maybe do some Exceed summons, but yeah, other than that, their traps are pretty much dead. But then I changed my mind what deck to use at the last minute, because he asked me, Jude asked me if he could borrow Masked Heroes, Divine Wind and Blast, which indicated that he was going to play a hero deck. So I changed my mind and decided to play my own elemental heroes, because I thought, well, Jinzo can't really do shit against heroes. So yeah, I used mine just to see if I'd get paired against him. I mean, we could have done had I not had bad luck halfway through. And I was off to a great start as well. I won against James, the other James, the different James, not James C, the one who played Salomon Greats against me in the first round and used Chain Burn in the Edison format tournament earlier this week. And yeah, I managed to win that match, even though he could have won game one, but made that huge misplay which cost him the game, and he didn't seem to know that Access Code Talker could destroy cards, and because of that I was able to take advantage of this situation with Infinite Impermanence when he tried to use Book of Eclipse on Spirit of Neos. So yeah, I won that 2-1. Then I went up against Joe, who was playing Sky Strikers. I thought maybe he'd be playing Labyrinth again, but no, it was Sky Strikers, which gave me a lot of problems. Or at least they did in game one, but I was able to win game two, because he seemed to have bad luck with Pot of Desires and just didn't seem to draw the right card, so I managed to win that. Then I went up against Aaron with Sprites again, which I thought I could deal with, because I beat Sprites before, so I was sure I could do it again. I won game one with not too many problems, but game two he basically surprised me with the Shadow Mosquito, using one of its effects to make it so that I'd take any battle damage that he took, which just countered my defensive play with Spirit of Neos. That was so annoying, as I did use Imperm on one of his monsters to try and stop him swarming the field, but I regretted my decision, as I used it on basically the wrong card. Then again, I'd have needed the power of hindsight here. Same with game three. And Gigantic Sprite did me in, because with Gigantic Sprite out, it meant that I couldn't special summon Spirit of Neos to stop him OTKing me. And again, I used Imperm on the wrong card. Like, I wish I'd saved it for gigantic sprites. Yeah, that was annoying that I lost that match, and I was doing so well. Like if I'd remembered those effects of the mosquito and gigantic sprite, I would have used imperm on them, and I could have probably won the match. So yeah, even though it was partially a misplay, he got lucky against me. He only won because of those two cards. Then I lost horribly against Drytron, because Natasha took my Neos, and then my Shining Flare Wingman and my Shining Neos Wingman, which was cheeky. And then, just to add insult to injury, he sided Vanity's Ruler against me, and I was just like, why? It's bad enough that you turned my ace heroes against me. Did you really have to side in a card that kills my deck? So yeah, I lost that. And then I went up against Weber's 5 in the last round. And I was considering just dropping out, because I didn't get to face Jude, and on one hand I didn't want to play against Plunder Patrol, but which I assumed he'd be using, but on the other hand I wanted an opportunity to defeat Plunder Patrols with Elemental Heroes for once. And I assumed he'd be playing Runic Plunder Patrol, because he did say that was what he was going to play, but it turned out he was playing Endymion. He seemed to change his mind at the last minute. And when he summoned Kashtira Fenrir, I was a bit confused. Then I realised he was playing Endymion. I was like, wait, what? You're playing Endymion? I wish I scooped the match, to be honest, purely because I really didn't want to play against Endymion. That had I known beforehand, I would have just let him have the win. I might as well have done, because I couldn't do shit against him. All I did was like one Super Poly play, and that was use Super Poly to fuse Neos with Fenrir and make Gaia. And then, rather annoyingly, I forgot to use Crosskeeper's effect to draw 2 and put 1 on the bottom, because I did have it in my graveyard. Then again, I don't know how much that would have changed anything, because he managed to get out Odd Eye's Vortex Dragon, which I wasn't expecting. And then I sided, because luckily I did have some stuff in the side that could deal with Endymion, but rather annoyingly, not only did I not draw anything I sided in, but I bricked. Yeah, I had a really shit hand. There was just nothing I could do with it. Which is annoying, because Elemental Heroes are not supposed to brick. And then he made a board which would have OTK'd me, so I was like, I'm just gonna scoop. Yeah, I was just so annoyed and upset after that. And then Jude, of course, won the whole thing. And rather typically, he pulled some great stuff from the box. Oh, it was Maze of Memories, by the way. He pulled Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon, which is a card I still want, plus a collector's rare, more specifically Avramax. I was like, fuck's sake, that could have been mine if I didn't get unlucky against Aaron. Yeah, I really wasn't happy after that. So I just gave up playing in tournaments, and this time for good and for real. and I vowed to never play in a tournament again for reasons that I already talked about a few times. Of course, as you could tell, I was still willing to play in past format tournaments, but now it's got to that point where I just don't want to play in current format ones anymore. But it's fine, because my mission was accomplished. So I've pretty much done everything I could ever want to do in a tournament. And then I had more success in a Royal Rumble recently, where my Black Wings finally won a Dead Universe Comics Royal Rumble after constantly getting dicked by either Cyber Dragons or Plunder Patrol in previous ones. Before this, though, Emma came to visit again, and she joined us for another game night. And we had a six-way battle royal between me, her, George, Cal, Webbers 5, and Gamer Central. Although this royale was absolute bullshit, because Endymion was played and no one was able to do anything pretty much. Although me, Emma and George were able to do some things, but poor Gamer Central, who was playing Dragon Maids, just seemed to have a bad hand, and the one play he did try and do got negated by Endymion. I did manage to break his board at one point with help from Blackluster Soldier of Chaos, and I was counting on that to take Weber's 5 out. But Emma got rid of my Soldier of Chaos with a Ronin Raccoon token. Then Weber's 5 built his board back up, and I decided to just scoop, because I did not want to get beaten by Endymion. I refused, and then he took out everyone else. Then after that there was an agreement to ban both Endymion and Plunder Patrol from Royal Rumbles, because just those decks were just pissing everyone off too much, because no one was able to play. In fact, every time Endymion was used in a royale, he'd always win. Yeah, that was pretty much that. Of course, me, George and Cal would have a lot of funny royales, and there'd be plenty of banter between George and Cal. Like, sometimes I'd win, but George would sometimes win as well. I think that's all there is. Oh no, wait, there were those other two past format tournaments that happened. The GOAT one and the recent Edison one. Where of course I started off well with my GOAT format Dark Richician deck, but lost all my other games. One was against Billsy, and the other was against Jude. I was like, fuck me, I finally got paired against him. But unfortunately he won against me. I would still like to win a match against him though, because I've beaten pretty much every other competitive player who plays in the Dead Uni tournaments at least once, but I have never ever been able to defeat Jude, except in that one duel when we first met. So even though I'm only be playing in past format tournaments, I would still love to defeat him once and for all. Not as an act of revenge for something or anything, but purely because I just simply like to see if I can get a win against him for once. I'm sure it will happen one day. And then of course there was the Edison tournament from the other day, which didn't go too well, getting done in by Sabres in round 1 and Blackwings in round 2, and then getting annoyed by Chainburn, even though I did win. And I think, to be honest, I don't think I'm going to bother playing in any other Edison tournaments anymore. Just purely because Sabres, Chainburn, Glads and Macro are being played, and I'm sure I didn't play against Macro and Glads, but I've had enough annoying experiences with them as it is. But yeah, quite frankly, I just don't want to deal with Macro, Glads, X-Sabres and Chainburn anymore. They just make games too unenjoyable. I mean, there's no point if I basically either can't do anything or just have my life points burnt out before I can play. So I think if I do play in any other pass formats, tournaments, I'd rather it was anything from before synchros existed and after Yatterlock. Just because the game was just much more better and so much more enjoyable, even though priority exists. That's basically the most notable things about this year so far. Oh wait, I forgot to mention about the endurances I have planned. So yeah, 2 of them have been done so far. Fortunately, I didn't win the character deck endurance, despite my epic comebacks against Rockets and Ignistas. But yeah, all of my protagonist decks just lost against Emma's Melfi's. And then I lost the speed duel one against Giorgio's decks, and it's just annoying and unfortunate because I could have won the last one against him if I hadn't messed up and I forgot I could run over stuff. But still, at least there was the thought that I could have won it. So far things aren't going well for my 20th anniversary endurances. I'm still in the process of the pass format endurance, so I need to pick up the pace and try and win the other 2. Provided, of course, I stop struggling against Steve's GOAT format deck. But yeah, that will continue later tonight, or at least at the time of recording. Yeah, I'd better get ready for game night now. So, yeah. That concludes my history series otherwise. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed my stories of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the last 20 years, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Dark Richician YouTube channel.